Look at these beautiful fillets of fish. This is fish and chips today, and you get a good recipe for tartar sauce too. This is a delicious dish that you're going to enjoy. Today I'm going to be making fish and chips. Recently one of my viewers wrote in and asked for this recipe, and so I told him, yeah, I'll go ahead and do this, and that's this recipe that I'm going to show you today. Now this is a classic English, well I should say British dish. It's enjoyed in Ireland, Scotland, England, so throughout Great Britain you're going to find this wonderful dish. And the thing of it is the best flavors of this dish come from some of the simplicity in it. So this is a great, very authentic recipe for you to enjoy. This is the British fish and chips. I'm going to show you how to make it. Guys, check out these ingredients. We've got good stuff here. Today we have some wonderful ingredients to make this fantastic dish. So you will know this isn't all about just the fish. This is about making a wonderful tartar sauce and cooking up the chips just right and the right type of fish. It starts with the fish, folks. I have some cod here. If it looks a little dry, it is. I've been spending some time with paper towels making sure that any excess moisture was removed from this. That is an important process. You need to make sure that that's prepared for cooking. If it's too wet, it doesn't do well for this particular dish. So I've got my cod here. We also have some lemons, a shallot. I have some small gherkins here. Also capers, salt, paprika, mayonnaise, flour, and a beautiful potato. Now folks, the potato you use for this, you can use anything you want. You can use the Yukon Golds, you can use white potatoes, you can use a russet. That's what I'm going to do today. Whatever you want, you can substitute in any kind of potato for this and it'll work just fine. Back here we have some beer. Now I'm using a lager, and I'm using a lager because it has a very thick, malty, rich flavor that lends to the batter, and that's part of the flavor of the dish. If you have a thing about alcohol, it's very simple. Just get a non-alcoholic beer. Use that. It'll work fine. Folks, those are your ingredients. Now let's get busy cooking this wonderful dish up. Now folks, making this batter is simple. You want to use a large bowl. Place your flour into the bowl and use a whisk to mix in the beer. Now on this beer, you want to only mix it in just kind of a little at a time until you get your batter to the consistency of a thin pancake batter, more like a crepe batter. It should be a little thicker than heavy cream, and it should have a very kind of a smooth flow rate to it. And after you mix that together, and this is simple, just these two ingredients, set that aside. It needs to rest for a little while, and the longer the batter rests, believe it or not, the better it gets. So go ahead and mix that together, and then we move on to our next goodie. It's time to get busy making this wonderful, wonderful dressing. This is a fabulous tasting sauce that it just works well on meats, okay, period. And that was what it was originally designed for. The French made this originally, and this is a sauce made for meat. So I'm going to get my mayonnaise in here. I'm going to chop up all of these items, and I'll only cut this in half, but we're going to be dicing the shallot, the pickles, and the capers. I need to chop these a little bit, and that way they release their flavor and aren't quite so large in the mix itself. A little bit of paprika will get mixed in at the same time. Well, I have the capers and those pickles and the shallot all chopped up and down in here. I'm about to get it mixed up, but I need to add some paprika, salt, and squeeze some lemon in there. And this is important, folks. The lemon is really going to bring up the acidity in this. And there's other ways of doing this. You can use things like tarragon. Well, how should I say this? I was about to say a tarragon vinegar. If you have some of that, that would work sprinkled in there. You can make your own by cooking it up in a pan. Also, if you want to use just a plain white vinegar or red vinegar, you could just add that instead of lemon. But you need something in there to bump the acidity just a little bit. And that is a real important thing because it's going to bring out flavors across the board in there. Very important item. The paprika, keep it mild on that, folks. Add a little bit, taste it, and if you like the warmth of it, then add a little bit more, but don't overdo it. A bit of salt, up to about a half a teaspoon. Now, folks, I have one big ugly spud here. Thing of it is chips in Great Britain are generally about the size of your finger or just a little bit bigger. And they're short, okay? So they're not going to be like the whole length of this. Normally, if I was making potatoes or French fried potatoes like we do here in the United States, I would shoestring this and then put it through a process. And I'm going to put these through a process, but I'm not going to shoestring it. What I want to do is I want to make nice, thick chips out of it. So we're going to have some nice long, not long, but nice fat fries to go with this wonderful dish. My chips have all been cut up, and I have been busy destarching these, and that just means I've been running them through several changes of water to get them good and clean and destarched, because the next process needs that removed from the outside of the potato, and it also needs to be dried off. So I'm going to be drying these next using this little goodie and some paper towels, and then they're ready to par fry. Well, I finished drying off those chips, and they're over here drying on the paper towels. Next, I'm going to be putting them down in oil at 295 degrees, and that'll be for a minute and a half, and then we put them on that baking sheet that I have back there. Put them in the freezer right after that, and when they're cold, they're ready to finish cooking. Now, folks, the chips are going to go through a process, and this is an important process. We need to par cook these, whether they're boiled as par cooking or whether they're fried as par cooking. Either way, they have to be par cooked. Now, par cooked means partially cooked. So we're going to cook them a little bit, we're going to cool them back down, and then we're going to cook them again. And this method is using oil at 295 degrees for 90 seconds, and then put them on a baking sheet, throw them in the freezer, and once they're frozen, they're ready to cook up. It's just that simple. They don't actually have to freeze all the way through, but they need to be refrigerator cold at least. And that way you get a really, really good chip. The outside will cook longer, the inside will become light and fluffy the way it needs to be, and it will form the best chip that you've ever eaten. Right there. There we go. 295 degrees for about 90 seconds, and then right over, right there onto a baking sheet. That way we can put them in the freezer after this and get them cooled down rapidly. Then we can put them through the final process. These are now out of the freezer, and I'm about to put them down in hot oil, and that'll be at 350 degrees. And I'm going to fry these until they become a nice golden brown throughout and the edges are starting to turn dark brown. That's exactly the way I like mine. Okay, and that should give me a beautiful crispy exterior with a light fluffy interior, and it'll be a fabulous chip at that point. My chips have been cooking now for 6 minutes and 35 seconds. Actually about 7 minutes total when you figure the time I put them in. They've come out a beautiful color. Look at this. This is just about right, just about the color I'm looking for, and it's going to be wonderful. These are already firm. They floated to the surface a few minutes ago, and when they do that, that tells you that the center of them, the inside, is cooked now. It's cooked through, and you can remove them at that point. So anywhere from there to as dark as you would like to get them. Now, I like more color on my chips, just the way I am. I like them well done, basically. So mine are going to be in there for, about 8 minutes or maybe just a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and stop my timer and take these out. Now that the last of my chips are frying, I need to salt my fish, and then I'm going to batter it. And I do that very simply by first dusting it in flour, and then we dredge it in our batter and drop it right down into the oil. It's just that simple, guys. Yeah, that looks so good. Oh, looky there, we've battered and now frying up those beautiful cod fillets. This is going to be wonderful. Give them about 1 minute and then turn them. It's going to be a total of 8 minutes cooking, 4 on each side. Folks, I have 2 minutes left on the existing side that's down. When I first put these in there, I put them in for 1 minute after I battered them, and then turned them over after 1 minute of cooking. Cooked them on the second side for 4 minutes, turned them over again, and now they're on their last 3 minutes of cooking. Once that's finished, I'll pull those out, put them on a drain pan, and let them cool along with the chips. The quantities of what we've used today, as far as making, let's start with our tartar sauce. I started with about somewhere between 1.5 cups to 2 cups. It wasn't an exact measurement on my mayonnaise here. Also, it's a pinch of salt. On those capers and the gherkins, it's going to be kind of to taste, folks. I'm going to say start with 1 to 2 tablespoons of chopped on each. And if it doesn't seem to be enough for you, then just add a little bit more. This is the kind of dish where you have to learn to mold it and grow it to your taste. Now, I used some chopped shallot also, and again, you're going to be starting on that around just a couple of tablespoons once it's chopped up. Some lemon juice. Naturally, you need to bring up the acid in that to make it a wonderful tasting dish the way it should be, and that paprika to give it just a bit of a glow, a warmth within the flavor of that dish. So that's a sprinkle of paprika, and you can consider that about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon on the paprika. On the fish, I used a couple of fillets for this, and the amount of batter that I made was, of course, enough for about 4 to 6 fillets, all right? And that is 1 cup of flour to the better part of a bottle of beer. There's going to be about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of beer left in the bottom when you're finished making this. Of course, that's just something special for the chef after the fact. There it is, folks. Your chips, as many as you would like to cut up from whichever potato, and the type of potato really doesn't matter. Thank you for watching. That's been a wonderful dish. Now let's take a look at this thing all plated up. Look at that, folks. Beautiful fish and chips. I'm just waiting for this to cool down a little bit so that it doesn't burn me when I bite into it. These fillets are quite thick. They hold a lot of heat, so give them some time to cool down before you go chowing down on them. Otherwise, you could burn yourself. But we have created a beautiful, beautiful dish with a wonderful flavor, and I am so looking forward to enjoying this meal. All right, I have gone ahead and put some of the tartar sauce in a bowl. And we want some nice, clean, pretty plating. Something that shows off our ingredients well. Ladies and gentlemen, a beautiful, beautiful platter of fish and chips. Oh, now I know, traditionally it's served up on newspaper. You know what? When you're in the kitchen and you think about things like that, you start thinking, I really don't want the newsprint. If you're going to do that, that's fine. Go ahead and enjoy that kind of thing. It's really gives you the moment. But go ahead and put some cooking parchment on there, or some, some sort of paper that's designed to have food served on it. You don't want the newsprint in your food. Oh yeah. Break off a corner here. Oh. Beautiful, 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 crisp, delicious. Oh yeah. Some of that tartar sauce. Oh, that is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be enjoying my fish in a little bit, and I hope you enjoy yours too. I've got a wonderful beer that pairs perfectly with it. You should give it a try. It's whichever one you used. You're going to enjoy it. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. If you would, please take a look also at my Patreon page. That's a funding source for me. and for artists and people who teach and people who do artistic work. You'll be able to catch up on a little more of what I do. I do photography also. I'll be launching a new website with that very soon. But for right now, that's patreon.com/Stuart Trotter. There it is. You can see it right there. Thank you very much for checking that out. Please click on that subscribe button. If you would, please also click the like button if you enjoyed this. If you would drop some comments down below, I appreciate that. If you have questions, requests, believe it or not, I fulfill a lot of requests. That's how this recipe got done. Thank you for watching, and folks, please have a good day.